in, you know, the blockchain, everything's, or in DeFi, everything's the APY. I thought that was an interesting take on a signal in the current market. And yeah, it's at the same time very simple signal. I mean, all you need is the price, the dividend that a certain stock gives, and the time when the dividends is paid out. And yeah, so I found IEX. Both Yahoo and Google Finance, apparently they're not really supported anymore. And this is, it's free. At the same time, it's also paid, so there's good support. And there's a sandbox option. I was actually able to calculate, this whole script uses only the data that comes from the sandbox. So, you know, there's no counting or any limit there. Some of the data is like anonymized if you use the sandbox view, meaning like you won't be able to get like names of companies or something. But the data that I needed, the price and the dividends that and the symbols, the tickers, they're all there. Although this is only for the US. So I do think that influences the signal quite a bit already, right? I mean, out of the 5,000 symbols, there's only like 2,000 US. And then we'll see that about half of those, they don't have dividends. So I end up with about 1,000 tickers that I'm able to submit. Let's see. So yeah, this just basic stuff, logging into the API, both APIs, IEX and Numerai. Filtering here for the US, and yeah, here you see 2,200 out of 5,000. And then get the dividends. There's a couple of different frequencies the dividends are paid out in. Give those, enumerate those, and make sure that I'm able to calculate the dividends on a yearly basis. Let's see, where are we doing that? Here we take the amount, multiply by the frequency, and join it by the close price. And that's basically the signal. Just a little creative idea I had, and just wanted to see how it did. And it's actually interesting. Let's see, at the bottom here, I can show you, especially in the last year, it did better than I thought. To be honest, I thought it was just going to go to zero. Not really do anything, just also because there's not that many tickers I'm able to submit. It doesn't look too good here. It's only 11% APY with quite a big drawdown. But if I'm able to, like, this is the last submission, and instead of taking like the last 5 years, I only take the last year. And here you see that it's already getting a lot better. Barely any negative, touching negative on the cumulative correlation. And yeah, that's without any transformations even. I think I saw a question in the Slido about that as well. The first example script, puts a model on it, the signal that's there, and the signal that's created, the signal that's provided the target. And I don't do any of that, so I just submit it raw. So I think there's definitely room for improvement there. Let's see, what else can I show you here? I think this actually, yeah, this was an interesting question I still have open, like, because everybody's using the quintiles. This is also the way the targets are given. Is this the only way that we're able to submit a signal? Or can we use a more fine-grained way of submitting? I think that's an open question I had. This was a really nice find in Pandas. Obviously, we're looking for that Friday date. Example script is there's quite a lot of code that just, is about finding the right day. And I was happy that Pandas could just do that for me. Yeah, and the rest of the code is just basically it fitting and submitting. Here we see that there's about 1100 symbols that are merged. And then do we also get back how many are actually submitted? I think it's a bit less than that. So yeah, like I said, the fact that the region is limited, I think, limits the signal quite a bit. Currently, what I'm doing with the Ask Frequency Friday, so that's here, is only just taking the price and the APY on that day. So it ignores, every price action that happened in the 6 days before that. I think, one experiment there could be to take an average, a moving average, min, max, see what sticks best. So yeah, daily quintiles. Maybe somebody can answer that for me if that's the only way to submit, or can we rank like 1 to 10, or just submit any number between 0 and 1, for example. Yeah, and then obviously the transformation of the raw signal based on what the targets are given. And yeah, like I said, I didn't expect it to do so well, actually, especially in the beginning. Like, this was a really nice surprise the first time. So this is exactly the example script. That's on GitHub as well. Like, I didn't change anything and I just submitted every week. So this was a really good start. After that, a bit more neutral. There's a big drawdown here, but yeah, overall still not bad for such a raw, simple signal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't actually know about this exchange and that they give free data. But that's seems like a really good one for anyone to add. Even if it's just the US, it's probably good for many different purposes. Yeah, dividend yield is obviously like very correlated with value or PE, but it is different. And value definitely has had like a kind of comeback recently. Some quant funds like AQR that have a lot of value exposure have done well in the last few months. But yeah, I would also think it would be the kind of feature we would be neutralizing to, and we probably are.
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much are neutralizing to dividend yield, but we're probably neutralizing it to a different transformation, or we're neutralizing it across the whole universe, not just across the US. So you've got the kind of US value signal, which is still able to make non-zero correlation. So yeah, it seems really good. And yeah, can you get other stuff from this data vendor? Can you get like momentum, price momentum, or other things like that? Because other things like that could be worth blending in with a model.
Yeah. So there's quite a few. There's quite a few data points that they're able to provide, although you have to start paying for it. Okay. There's not that much that's available in the sandbox, and that's available for free. At the same time, I think it's only like $10 or $15 per month or something like that, which, well, I think is not too bad, considering there's also subscriptions that cost a lot more per month. And yeah, the sandbox still enables you to play around with the script and make sure that the whole pipeline works before actually getting live data. And there's not that much data you need, right? Like, technically, you could just get the data points for the last 7 days, and that's all you need to submit. But yeah, they offer quite a lot. Yeah.
And then yeah, on the quintile thing, you can definitely do the 0 to 1. Probably best for signals, because remember that when you upload to Signals, we do this pre-neutralization step. So the kind of more fine-grained the signal is, the more that might benefit you, because ultimately it moves onto a 0 or 1 continuum after the neutralization anyway. So you might as well submit it with that. I'm not saying that's like strictly better. Like it's possible this is better, but it's worth trying just on 0 to 1 as well.
Yeah, that's interesting, because this is basically just a lot of rough rounding up or down, which is not necessarily good for the signal, maybe. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
That's something Suraj is playing with in his example script too, is changing from quintiles and then going to like bucketing it by 50s or 100s. And yeah, the limit of that is just doing the percentile rank, which for something like this makes sense. Are you gonna keep submitting, you think, on this test account?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, yes. At the same time, I was hoping to find the time to include also other countries, or maybe find a better transformation of the signal. But if I submit that, I'll do that in a separate account. So this is a nice way to just keep track of what the example script is doing.
There's another kind of take on this as well, which is actually some data we were thinking of buying, but it could be kind of expensive. Like the one vendor we found that was selling it was like $30,000 or something. But basically it, because when you were talking about APY, you can look at corporate debt markets and look at the interest rates on Apple's debt, or the interest rates on Berkshire Hathaway's debt or whatever, and use those as a way to use that as a signal for their stock, which is obviously separate to their debt. And apparently that can be a useful signal, but I've never quite worked with one of those, but that could be another future development for this script.
And the data you found, is that available for 1,000 or 2,000 different companies?
Yeah, this data was available for the whole world, I think. But sometimes the difference between getting the whole world and just getting the US in price, the US data is almost like gone to zero. But the rest of the world is where it gets expensive. So if you just wanted to get corporate debt interest rates of the different corporate debt instruments for every asset, it probably wouldn't be that hard to find for the US.
Interesting.
I've got one thing to add. I'd actually looked at this provider a couple of months ago, but for price data. And one thing I found was that they noise the price data. I'm not sure if they do that with the dividends data. They noise it in the sandbox plan. And so if you're planning to look at include the price data in your models from IEX Cloud, it's a good idea to pay for it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And the noise, if I'm not mistaken, they just swap the prices for different stocks.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. That would mean that this is basically a random submission.
but it's quite cheap anyway, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Doesn't look random.
No. Well, maybe they only noise like 10 or 20% or something of it.
Cool. Thanks for sharing this. This is really cool. It's nice to just have new pipelines for different data sources too. Because even if the sandbox is noisy, somebody can upgrade it and still use this boilerplate.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah. So the sandbox is really just to get the pipeline in place. And after that, I think you have like 2 million, what they call like data points or credits, depending on, what API endpoint you use.